There's an old showbiz saying that goes, always leave them laughing. Turns out this can also be applied to growing sales. In a hyper-competitive market, brands need to do more than simply think outside of the box in order to get the attention of customers, let alone close sales. That led one smart marketer to see the potential in combining humor with a sales message. The results have been remarkably successful. I'm Jane Singer, and thank you for taking the time to join me here on A Seat at the Table, where we talk to leading executives, entrepreneurs, and innovators who share their insights, experience, and outlook on business, technology, and leadership. It's wonderful to have you as part of our international community that now includes industry professionals like you in over 100 countries. Today I'm speaking with Joseph Wilkins, founder of Funny Sales Videos, where he and his team create refreshingly entertaining sales videos that turn views into buying. Joe has worked with Google, McDonald's, LinkedIn, and many others to help them use humor to build their brands and grow sales. With 20 years experience, hundreds of millions of views, and over 250 million in career sales, Joe knows a thing or two about moving products and services. In this episode of A Seat at the Table, Joe talks about his methodology behind using funny videos in marketing, his 8-step guide to producing videos like his own by yourself, and how humor can help make the sales process more human. Before we get started, if you're a supply chain executive who'd like to finally put an end to information overload and get a concise, fact-based summary of key market developments and shifts, as well as sharp insights into what's likely to impact sourcing in the coming months, then the current situation in sourcing is exactly what you're looking for. To learn more, head on over to thecurrentsituation.net. That's thecurrentsituation.net, where you can get all of the details. Now let's sit down with Joe and find out how we can use humor to grow our sales. I'm really looking forward to having you on the show, Joseph, because everyone right now is trying to find ways to build sales, and it's not easy. I mean, there's traditional ways, right, of advertising, of making sales calls. Of course, there's all the social media, but it's tough. It's a noisy, competitive market, and standing out is very difficult. And trying to find a way to approach people in a way that's not salesy when a lot of these people are being inundated, right, by sales messages is really tough. So what you're doing, right, with your funny sales videos, I think sounds really interesting. I'm looking forward to learning about. Perhaps you can start by telling us what exactly you're doing with funny sales videos. What's the concept?
Yeah. So really it all started, and I don't want to get too lengthy in this intro, but it started 20 years ago. So let me really quickly bring you up to what brought us to today. So I started the company doing television commercials and infomercials, right? Your traditional, broadcast advertising. But we started doing long form 30-minute infomercials. In fact, our very first infomercial did over $200 million in sales.
Wow.
We were one of 3 companies that produced it, so I never want to take all the credit, but it was the Little Giant Ladder infomercial. And so literally for the next 15 years, that's the boat that we hitched our wagon, or the train that we hitched our wagon to was television.
Okay.
Now after about 10 years, we started to see things like TiVo, DVR, Netflix, people changing their habits, and our results, obviously for our clients, started to drop. And so we realized we've got to figure out what's going on and how do we fix it without going obsolete. Right. And that's kind of about 15 years into it, where our clients started to say, we've seen these funny viral videos. Right. We want to do one of those. And it's kind of funny to think about it now, but anytime somebody said that, we would say, sorry, we don't do funny. Oh. Because the worst thing you can do is try to be funny and end up looking silly. Right. You got to do it right or don't do it at all. That's my advice. Now, that doesn't mean, whoever's listening to this, that doesn't mean you have to be funny. And I'll tell you how I kind of built my team of freelancers very inexpensively, and how you can do it too. So keep watching, don't tune out. But let me give you a result. After about a good investment in finding the right team, getting the right people on the bus. We finally, in about 5 years ago, launched funny sales videos, because that's what people want when they go online to these platforms like Facebook and Instagram and YouTube.
Right.
They're there to be entertained.
Yes.
They're not there to be sold. And so the closer that your content looks, we almost trick people into watching our ads without realizing that they're ads. And so the closer you can imitate that entertainment that they're there to consume, it only stands to reason that the more seconds they'll give you to watch it. And if you start to tell a story and then bring in some sales points, once you've kind of got them laughing and got them leaning forward, it only makes sense that it's going to be more effective. So let me give you a quick case study before and after.
Okay.
So before we launched this new brand of funny sales videos and created this team and did everything that I'll step you through in the rest of this podcast.
Okay.
Our biggest video view that we'd ever got online, we had one video that got 100,000 views, which we at the time thought was amazing.
Yes.
But when we launched our funny sales video brand, our very first campaign, using the steps that I outlined in my ebook and that we'll talk about today.
Okay.
Our very first campaign for a super niche company. I mean, if your audience thinks, well, I'm just a small company and my audience isn't that big, this was even smaller, and we got 7 million views.
Oh my gosh!
It was a SaaS product.
Wow.
We got an immediate sign up that generated $500,000.
Oh my gosh! Wow.
So hopefully you're leaning forward now, listening. Saying,
I am.
Okay, so that was 5 years ago. Fast forward to today, our biggest campaign has over 100 million views, millions and millions and millions of dollars in sales. Literally, these kinds of videos have transformed businesses. We also have a one-man entrepreneur who built a medical device that nobody had ever heard of, was trying to sell it for $500 to cold traffic. And within a few months, we had doubled his monthly sales. So these are the kinds of results that we're seeing.
Gee.
And we don't produce anything other than these funny sales videos because they're so fun to create. But more importantly, they are so much profitable and connect with audiences.
I mean, that's just remarkable results. I mean, who gets those kind of results these days? It's just about unheard of. So yeah, I'm really, you got me, leaning in, and I'm actually coming through the screen. So maybe you can take us through the 8 steps that you use to get each product, so that, you get each project through to those predictable results. Yes.
And the key is predictable.
Right.
Because most people, when they think about these videos, they think about the word viral, right?
Yes.
And now that everyone's kind of excited to hear me, now I'm going to break your heart. These videos are not organically viral.
Okay.
So it's not a case of making a video, uploading it to YouTube, and saying your prayers that it's going to go viral.
Right.
That doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Platforms, algorithms are way too sophisticated, and they can spot the difference between a cat video or a celebrity video that may go viral,
right,
and an ad that's built by a company for profit. And if you're going to put it on their platform, they want a piece of the action. So what this is about is return on ad spend.
Okay.
So we take videos and we put them on social media, or our clients put them on social media and fuel them with ad dollars. It's kind of like if I was to say to you, Jane, I'm going to build you a vending machine that's full of $100 bills. It never runs out, but it costs $20 to use it. How many times do you want to use that machine?
Yeah. Okay. Yes, I understand what you're talking about. Yeah.
That's what we do. And it's a predictable way that, unlike a viral sensation that's like trying to catch lightning in a bottle,
right,
this works every time. Obviously, different campaigns work to different degrees, and creativity is very subjective, and some campaigns work much better than others. But, it's very predictable as far as beating what our clients are currently running. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's run through the 8 steps, and I'll go really, really quick because I could spend hours and hours. So step 1 is marketing 101. Understand exactly who your customer avatar is, who you're talking to. Nobody would ever write a long letter, then walk to the mailbox and decide before they mail it who to address it to.
Right, yeah.
And yet that's what we do with our marketing. We write our copy with, our mindset, or, the talking about the reason why the owner invented the company in the first place. That's not why people are buying. People are buying because they have lives and needs and problems and situations, and you have to speak to them and solve their problems rather than just drinking your own Kool-Aid and thinking you know why people buy.
Yes.
So here's a power tip. What we do with every campaign, any client that calls us, the first thing we're going to ask for is at least 100 customer reviews. We want to dive in and listen to the voice of the customer. We then want to ask, some companies are very, very sophisticated, have multiple, very detailed customer avatars. I'm not just talking about a demographic.
Right.
We could spend forever talking about that. But if you really understand who your customer is, what their problems are, more importantly, how your products and services are meeting those, and literally let your customers write some of your script by, pulling out lines that they say in their customer reviews, or use SurveyMonkey or quiz people. Anything that you can do to really get inside the mind of the customer. Our number one comment that we get on our videos is, "That's me," or that's just like my life. Oh, she has the same. Well, guess what? It's because we've literally stolen your words and put them in our script. And so it feels like you or a friend of yours, or somebody that you can relate to.
Right,
so the closer you can get to that person, the more powerful and the higher the returns are going to be on your campaign.
So you're really talking about diving into the psychographics, so to speak, of a particular customer base.
Exactly. And most of our videos are about 3 to 4 minutes long, which a lot of people say, well, that's way too long in this, attention deficit disorder society. But we actually find our longer ads outperform our shorter versions because we get in on a deeper level, and we're talking at that psychographic, consciousness of things that people will connect to. So in 3 minutes, we typically look for 4 to 5 unique selling points that we're going to hit over and over again in this video. And we're also looking for maybe 1 or 2 objections that we need to overcome. If your price is too high, an unresolved concern never leads to a sale. So if in looking through your customer data, you're seeing a constant trend that there's one thing that your customers are always saying that they don't like about your product, you've either got to change that thing, or you've got to address it head on and talk about the fact that, yes, it's twice as expensive, but it lasts 10 times as long. So you buy one of yours or 10 of your competitors and do a price comparison that way. You've got to reframe the argument, and that all starts in that brainstorm, in that research. Okay, so step 2. This is the one that most people say, I could never do that. And I'm here to tell you, you can.
Okay.
So it's, what I call the empty whiteboard syndrome, where you're staring at you're trying to come up with ideas for what is my video going to be about. And I'm not talking about your product or service. We know that. You know that better than anyone. What you don't know is what's a story that's going to be entertaining, that's going to grab people's attention, that's going to make them want to keep watching. And the way that we come up with our concepts is we look for 50 bad ideas.
Ah, interesting.
So when I say an idea, all I'm talking about is who's the hero character of your video.
Right.
And what's their big, entertaining problem that your product will be the hero and solve.
Okay, yeah.
And the more fantastic and entertaining and magical, the better in some cases. And in other cases, we have a campaign, our biggest campaign ever, one video got 60 million views. Wow. But it was based on just a real life, spunky, fun mum that has kids that drive her crazy, but she also kind of cares about the environment, but she decides to buy this new laundry detergent that doesn't put plastic in the landfill. That doesn't sound too magical and fantastic. It's rooted in reality, but the way we tell the story makes it fun. So there's two kind of different ways that you can go. You can go with like, you know, I always refer to the Harmon Brothers Squatty Potty, the pooping unicorn that got millions and millions and millions of views. Whoever would have come up with that idea if you hadn't have just said, there are no bad ideas. Let's just throw out 50 bad ideas of here's the character and here's the problem. So I don't know. Let's brainstorm for a second. I'm picking up my earbuds, right? So let's say we're selling this. What's a character and a problem? I don't know. Maybe it's a group of kids that want to have a dance party in the street, but there's a house with a mum who has a crying baby and she yells at them. So they all decide to put their AirPods in and they have a dance party in silence. That's a really, just right off the top of my head, right? Don't filter it. Just throw it up. Okay, that's number one. Let's go to number two, right? You do that 50 times. Now ideally, you're not doing this alone. You're going to bring in as many members of your team as you have, buy everyone lunch, sit down for an hour, and just throw things up on the board. Or in my case, what I do is I have a whole network of freelance writers that work for me. We do this in a Google Doc. So we throw it up on the doc. We say, okay, we got 3 days. Everyone throw in, there's 5 of us. Everyone throw in 10 ideas. And then let's get on a Zoom and decide which are the best 5. So that's what we do. We distill it down to our top 5. And I guarantee you, if you come up with 50 bad ideas, you'll find 4 or 5 good ideas. Right. And then as an agency, we then present those 5 ideas to our clients. And a lot of the time, they have a problem picking one because they love, multiple. And that's where it comes down to gut feel. You got to pick one of them and then move to step 3.
Okay.
So step 3 is scripting.
Right.
Now, people are surprised when they hear our videos. There isn't a video on our website that didn't take at least 3, usually 4 months to produce.
Wow.
So these are intensive videos that take a lot of time, but they perform the way that they do because we go through this process.
Right.
So when it comes to scripting, we normally have 7 or 8 writers on every script.
Oh my gosh, wow.
So let me break that down. We start with a copywriter that is a marketer, right? And they're going to create the framework for what are the top selling points that my customer needs to hear in order to make a purchase, and what are any objections that we need to overcome? What's the offer that we're trying to get them to take? And I could spend a whole podcast just talking about coming up with offers.
Right.
You want to get the lowest hanging fruit, the easiest way for your customers to say yes to one thing. Then click into a sales funnel and you can upsell them and cross-sell them and add on all other things. So you may not want to actually make money with the offer that you're going to offer, but in the sales funnel is where you really make your money. So a lot of the time, we're making a video with a free trial, or a buy one get one free, or a 50% off, or a 30-day buy it, and if you don't like it, send it back. It's the absolute easiest way that somebody can say yes. So that's what the marketing copywriter does. Then he hands that off to a creative writer. This is a storyteller, somebody who knows how to take everything that we've already discussed, take our character, take our problem, take our sales copy points, and in about 3 or 4 minutes, weave a story about somebody who has a problem, who meets a guide who gives them your solution, and then shows why their life is transformed. Those are the basic story arc building blocks of any script that we produce, and really any movie that you watch. If you look at Donald Miller's podcast about story brand, that's what it's all about.
Okay.
So once we've gone through the script, that's step 3. Step 4 is add in the comedy. Okay, so we've only gone through 2 script writers. Here's when we bring 5 or 6 comedy writers. Now, again, your audience is probably thinking, I don't know any comedy writers. Well, have you heard of a site called Fiverr? Have you heard of sites called Upwork? There's many freelancers out there that are very good. A lot of them are stand-up comedians that don't have day jobs that work for me. I started out finding people on Fiverr.
Wow.
I ended up, that it's kind of hit and miss. You have to, go through a few bad ones to find the good ones. Now I don't really use that, but that's a great place to start. And you're not looking for these people to write scripts. That's already been done. You're just looking for comedians to read through your script and add in 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 or 9 or 10 jokes. And if you do that with 5 or 6 different writers, you get a whole bunch of great content that, you or whoever the person in charge of the script then has the hard decision of, which babies do we kill? Because you have all these really fun jokes. And a lot of the time, and I script supervise every one of our projects. So this is where I really, this is my job, is to decide what, and listen to this, what furthers the sale.
Right.
Because you can have the funniest content, make you pee your pants laughing, but it distracts you from the message, or it maybe sometimes even goes away, or it gets confusing. It's gotta further the sale. This isn't, I don't run an agency that creates laughs. I run an agency that creates sales. Laughs is a vehicle that gets you to the sale. So you've got to prioritize one over the other. And
that's a good point. Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right about that. Too many commercials entertain, and that's all. They don't actually move the needle. So it is very important that you brought that up. We're going to take a quick break now, and then we'll be right back.
We were hiring when we were making 50 to 100K monthly losses.
And why? Welcome to episode 1.
I can't think of a single founder who's been around for a decent amount of time in business who hasn't had their tunnel of year. This was that year. We're going to be okay, yeah, Sheree. Some are going to hear this and think, you TDP. But hear me out. You only have to do the math to understand that very soon we were $500,000 down.
Absolutely. Most of the Super Bowl commercials, I shouldn't say most, many, you laugh your head off, you tell your friend about them, and the friend's like, well, whose commercial was that? And you have no idea.
Yeah, exactly, yes.
So the other thing I'll say on that, a lot of your listeners may be, maybe with very traditional companies that say, well, this doesn't sound like anything we would ever do. Hear me now.
Right.
That is a big flag saying opportunity.
Right.
Because your competitors will be saying the exact same thing.
Right.
The whole goal of marketing is to stand out. It's to be disruptive. It's to stop the scroll, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm not talking about going counterculture here.
Right.
You absolutely want to keep the value and the brand, and you don't want to do anything that goes against that. You never want to be offensive. I always try to keep my comedy clean and intelligent rather than, smutty and going for the cheap laugh, because yes, that'll get you a laugh, but it won't elevate your brand. You've got to be very intentional about saying, okay, here's the line. This is what our company stands for. But that doesn't mean that your customers won't enjoy laughing.
Yeah, of course.
And again, it doesn't matter what industry. I've yet to find an industry or a business where they have customers who don't like to smile. And that's what it's all about. We're very intentional about that first step, creating the avatar. Let's say you're an executive for a SaaS company trying to target CFOs. Well, that's a whole different kind of comedy that we would be writing than if you were a skin cream looking for teenagers.
Yes.
So you have to write to the audience, because again, the goal is to get them to say, that's me. Right. And they're not going to say that if you're using humor that doesn't fit their style. Okay, so that's step 4 is the comedy. I'll try to go quickly through the rest. Step 5 is the production. Now, this is where you say, okay, and we normally are about 2 months in at this stage. We've got a script that we've finalized. Everyone loves it. We never move to the next step unless our clients literally are in love with the script. You don't want to spend money on something that you say, well, let's hope it gets better when we film it. No, You got to get the script right. But, as a person who's literally owned and operated a video production studio with millions of dollars of equipment for the past 20 years, you would think I would say the most important part of production is to get the best cameras and the best lights and the best sound. And while that is important, it's nowhere near the most important thing. The most important thing is casting.
Right. Oh.
Finding the right actor or actors to deliver your script. And this is where I see so many people making this mistake. They think that they can make their employees funny.
Oh, yes.
They think that they can put their CEO in front of the camera, and if they write a few good jokes, he'll deliver. Or they think that their friend who went to drama school in high school can do this. This is a totally different kind of video. I always tell people, yes, absolutely. You need that CEO in front of the camera. You need your customers talking. You need these cheap unboxing videos. Marketing is like a salad. You need all kinds of ingredients.
Right.
But this kind of video that I'm talking about to you digital marketers out there is a top of funnel, first impression video run to cold traffic. You want to bring out as many of your tools to capture their attention and to hold it as possible. And for $1,000 or a couple $1,000, getting the right actor is the most critical part, second to getting the script right. I would take somebody, who uses their cell phone to film this with a great actor over somebody who, gets $1 million studio and puts their CEO in front of it. Now, some people may say, well, what about Dollar Shave Club? Or, yes, there are exceptions, but actually that guy was a trained actor who then became a CEO. He used to do stand-up improv, so he was actually cheating. But in 99% of the cases for this kind of video, you want to audition dozens and dozens and dozens of actors. So for every role that we cast, we look at about 100 actors before we pick the part.
Wow.
And this is how we do it. We do it for free, and your audience can do it too. We go to the websites of our local acting agencies. We've got our script. We kind of know who that is, but I never want to say, she is this ethnicity, or she has this color hair, or she's, this kind of body type. I never want to put our characters in a box, because then I'm limiting my options. What I do is I look at the websites and I say, okay, let's pick out my top 20 that I think look like after watching their demo reels. And then I'll ask for auditions. This is all free. Agencies don't charge anything for this.
Right.
I'll request auditions. I'll get about 20 auditions in. And then each actor, they're not auditioning the whole script. I'm just giving them 2 or 3 paragraphs. But each actor is putting their own spin on it. So for free, I'm really focus testing how different lines work and how different people interpret them. And it's a gut feeling that when you see a certain actor that just brings the character to life, it's just working. So then I'll pick my top 4 or 5, and I'll physically bring them into our studio to do a live audition, because some actors are great when they're in the privacy of their own home and can pick the best take and do 20 times and you the one. But you're looking for, can they respond? Can they take direction? Can you speed this line up? Can you put the emphasis on the company name? Can you do this line? And a lot of actors, they will bring more to the script and improv. And so there's a whole conversation around how do you direct actors, but that's really the most important part of the production. And yes, you can film it on your phone, but the thing that you're looking for with these videos is to be visually different than everyone else. And if everyone else on the timeline is filming it with their phone, it's going to blend in.
Yes. Yeah, I think that's really interesting. And I like the fact that you have the script because the script provides direction. But at the same time, you encourage the acting talent to bring their own spin to it, so it comes off a lot more natural and a lot more authentic.
100%. Yeah, some of my favorite moments in some of our videos were never scripted. They just happened on set. And that's the magic of hiring real professionals. Okay, so that's step 5, production. Step 6 is editing. So you've heard comedy is all about timing, right? Nothing could be more relevant to that statement than what we're talking about right now. the difference between, yes, we film it great and we have a great editor, a great actor, but a really good editor can change it a little bit, can cut things out, can speed things up, can swap around where lines, didn't make sense and cut from a wide shot to a close-up to emphasize the facial. A really good editor is worth his weight in gold for these kinds of videos. The final thing I'll say is most people don't stop watching videos because they're long. Netflix is still around pumping out 2-hour videos. They stop watching because they get bored.
Correct, yes.
Stop watching because it's not relevant to them.
Yes.
They stop watching because it's just not giving them value. So a big part of editing is taking out what I call the boring factor. Anytime there's a pause, cut it out. Anytime there's a breath, literally, cut it out. Our videos are so overwhelming visually that you don't get time to get bored. Final comment on editing. This may surprise you. Most of our videos, we will have one video script and we'll shoot it, but then we will edit 36 different versions of that same video.
Wow.
Because we're testing it. A, B, C, split testing. We will write, shoot, and edit 3 totally different opening hooks, because that's the most important part, the first 5 seconds before they get to hit that skip button. So all of our creativity first goes into that first 5 seconds. There's nothing else that comes after that matters if you don't earn their attention. So we'll shoot 3 different openings. We'll also shoot 3 different offers. So now we've got 9. We'll do a long version, 3 or 4 minutes, and then a shorter version for platforms where you can't run those longer versions. And then we'll do widescreen for YouTube and desktop. Then we'll do square versions for mobile, where we graphically design all of the subtitles, because on mobile, you have to assume that 80% of the people don't have the sound on. So you have to tell the story visually. So a lot of work goes into how do I tell this story so it's just as funny with the sound off as the sound on. So, I mean, a good editor will know how to do all of that. Step 7, we're getting down to the end. Step 7 is testing. Right. We never assume that we are right. We always want to get other people's opinions. And the more opinions you can get, the better. On every level, from, scripting to do these jokes work? Are they funny? Do you like this actor? And you're not testing yourself or your friends, you're testing your avatar. Right. So the more things that you can do to get, a group of customers who fit your avatar, or maybe just, people that are friends and family who are in that group, ask them, test them. And you're not really asking for them to give you feedback. You're looking at their faces. Yeah, that's important. Do they laugh? Do they smile? Are they asking buying questions after they watch it? There's all sorts of things that you can do to test it, to make sure that you're not just relying on your gut instincts. And then the final step, step 8, forget going viral. We've already talked about that. This isn't a campaign where the success is all determined on the creative. The creative is only 50% of the success of some of the numbers that I showed you earlier. Right. We have one campaign, and this sounds too good to be true, and it is, but we have one campaign that got a 19.6 return on ad spend.
Oh my gosh.
Meaning our customer in 1 week spent $1,000 on ads and got $19,600 in sales.
Oh, wow. That's incredible.
Now that wasn't sustained. That was I can't remember how long that lasted, but sustained over months of testing that's statistically significant. We consistently have customers that are running ads getting a 1.5 or a break even, and we do nothing more than switch out their creative with ours, and we get 3, 4, 5x return on ad spend. It's we never guarantee anything. Right. Because creativity is subjective, but there's a reason why our ads perform better, but that's still only 50% of the equation. You have to have a good media buyer who understands how to buy ads online, target the right people, build the squeeze page that's going to be optimized for that video, The goal when I click on this video should be to go to a website that looks like that video.
Right.
That has the exact same offer as that video, so you don't feel like you've been bait and switched.
Right.
Yes, you can upsell. Yes, you can cross-sell. Yes, you can do everything else that you're used to doing in traditional funnels, but it needs to feel like I'm still being held by the same hand from video to checkout.
Yes. I think that's really important, that consistency, that sort of seamless integration of one aspect of your marketing through to the other is really important. It's easy to forget about that.
Absolutely. So those are my 8 steps, and anyone can download those. We have a free ebook on funnysalesvideos.com. It's called How to Make a Funny Sales Video Without Hiring Us.
Okay. Well, that's quite fair and very generous of you. I'll have the link to that in the show notes. Now, when you're looking at doing these funny sales videos, and obviously there's an immediacy in terms of the sales that you're going to get from running this, are there other perhaps longer term benefits or other residual benefits that a company could be getting from this?
Great question. So yeah, obviously most of our companies are looking for an immediate sale or to generate an immediate lead. Those are the 2 top actions that we're looking for. But unlike infomercials, that once you've watched them, you either buy or you feel like, ew, that was icky. That was kind of salesy, right? These kinds of videos leave you feeling like, even if I don't buy, gosh, I like those guys.
Right.
Right? It's a branding experiment, but it's a branding activity.
Right.
And I'll give you an example. We have a company called True Earth. It's a laundry detergent. About 2 years ago, we started their campaigns, and a lot of their goals was to get into retail, and they were hitting brick walls because nobody had heard of them. I shouldn't say nobody.
Right.
Few people had heard of them. After we launched our campaigns, literally within days of launching our campaign, our very first campaign, customers started walking into grocery stores saying, "Do you sell True Earth?"
Wow.
To the point where the buyers started calling True Earth saying, we got to start stocking you. We got to start giving you shelf space. It became such a big campaign that they took our character and put her on billboards in and around cities where there were shopping stores. The second thing that happened was organically, we didn't run any ads on Amazon, but organically within the second day, True Earth became the number 2 most recommended product on Amazon. In the personal care department,
right?
Which they had never got to before. I mean, there's all kinds of trickle down effects that all come from somebody smiling. I mean, there's all kinds of studies of psychologies that have gone around, in advertising. If you can just get somebody to smile, how much more they're going to remember you in the future. And we all know that marketing is a multi-touch event, right? You have to have so many impressions before you actually buy. We look at these videos as a multiple touch event. Maybe you're not going to get all the touches, but a high volume of people will buy without having heard anything from you. We call it 0 to sold in 3 minutes or less.
Wow.
But those trickle on effects, you can't measure those on the spreadsheet on the bottom line, but they are real.
Yeah, I think it's sort of like goodwill. When a company builds goodwill for itself, it's an intangible, but on the other hand, it's a huge part of brand equity, really.
Yeah. I'll tell you one other thing it does that we've seen is search results go up for your product. So, if you're tracking how many times people go to Google and type in your product name, after launching one of these campaigns, our clients see a big spike in that organic traffic. And back to my original thesis of this is all about paid traffic, it's actually not all about paid traffic. It's about 90% about paid traffic. Okay. And with our campaigns, we do get about a 5 to 10% organic reach. So, that campaign that has 100 million views, how would you like to have 10 million views that you didn't pay for? Because people share and comment and like.
So when you're looking at this, you create the commercial, right? You create the funny sales video.
Yep.
What's after that? In other words, you put it on your own YouTube channel or your own Instagram, or what do you do once you have this commercial made?
Yes, you do all of that, but you don't count that any of that is going to make you sales. The sales come, and we don't do this. We're purely the creative house.
Okay.
We work with 2 or 3 agencies that are very, very good and very affordable that we recommend clients that call us that don't have an agency maybe talk to. But we work hand in glove with a digital marketing agency that then takes those 36 video assets, and the first month, typically what they're doing is they're testing it. They're spending just a little bit of money on each one to see which one is going to bring us the most predictable, highest return on the ad spend. Then, obviously they're going to look at the platforms, and we talk about that before we even start. What's the best platform for this, right? There's a very big difference between somebody who's going on TikTok and somebody who's going on Facebook.
Right.
I mean, there's a lot more crossover now than there used to be, but that marketing agency starts running ads at a very small, maybe $100 a day on an ad. And then, within a week, they know which one is performing the best. And then it's just literally like that vending machine. How many $20 do you want to put into the machine to get those $100 back? Now, some businesses, it's a longer tail of a sales cycle, right? So, some businesses, it's an immediate sale. Others, they're generating a lead. Others, it's immediate short loss leader of a sale, but the lifetime value is where the profit is. So it just depends on how funded you are, if you need an immediate return, or if you can spend to be able to get money back in the long tail.
Right. Okay, so that makes sense. So really, these are commercials that you're producing. You're then buying the if you want to call it advertising space or time or whatever, and the return is really coming because they're more engaging than what people would typically do.
Yes, absolutely. And the video is structured with one purpose only, with a very small second purpose. The first purpose is to educate you about something that you know nothing about, to now I know that I need to buy it, and here's a really easy way for me to take the first yes. Okay. We're trying to get people to that first yes. The second thing is to make you remember us if you decide not to take the yes and to like us.
Right, so to build the brand awareness. So the first step is, of course, driving that sale. Even if it's, like you said, a very teeny sale, even if it's a very minor yes. And then beyond that, it's building that brand awareness, that the goodwill, all the other aspects of it. Exactly.
Having said all of that, we back to that example of that one small entrepreneur that drove a 19x return on ad spend for a short time.
Right.
He was selling a $500 medical device to cold traffic.
Oh,
I mean, I can't think of a harder challenge. It wasn't even a medical device that if I showed you, you would say, what in the world is that? And what does that do? Right. There was no frame of reference as to whether this was actually going to work. But this campaign that we did, it was so fun that people just couldn't stop watching it. And the longer they watched, the more they realized, I actually do have that pain. And you're showing me some studies of people that it worked for them, so it must work for me. You're showing me social proof of thousands of people that have bought it and rated it 4.9 out of 5 stars. And you've got a 30-day money-back guarantee. I can't lose. Right.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, that's so interesting. I mean, I've really enjoyed learning all this from you, because honestly, it's just killing to try to compete, particularly online. I mean, customer acquisition costs have just gone through the roof. It is actually killing many otherwise very successful brands. They make a profit on their gross margin, but then when you have to add in the customer acquisition cost, it's not enough to compensate for that. So it is actually a really, really big challenge that many companies are facing these days. So, it's been great to learn about this from you and to see that there's other alternatives that could be more successful, better return on investment, and so forth.
Yeah, and that's the key, is the return on the investment, right? There's some competitors of ours that charge $1 million for a video and you're like, they're the best in the world, but how am I going to get a return on my investment?
Right.
If I'm spending $1 million on a video. So, our goal is to be the scrappiest that can be without looking like it, so that people can actually get that return quicker. We have one campaign that within 24 hours of launching, they quadrupled in sales what they paid for the ad. So don't think that this is outside of your reach, but if you are a small company, you can do this yourself. Everybody is walking around with a camera that I would have died for 20 years ago in their pocket. So, yes, you're going to get better results if you hire the professionals, but don't think, unless, don't skimp out on the writers and don't skimp out on the actors. Everything else you can do yourself. But if you really want the kind of results we're talking about, bring in the professionals.
It's really important that you brought that up, because people who are not in the industry are so taken by the equipment and, sort of all the accoutrements and affectations that they often miss what's really important. And you're absolutely right. I mean, the cameras on phones these days are so off the charts in terms of quality that you don't need the old school massive cameras and bringing in all the sound equipment. People do look at that and they think, wow, look at all the stuff that they're using, and they think that makes it better. But actually, you're right. It really comes down to the soft side of it, which is the talent, the editing, the scripting,
Absolutely.
The stuff that that's less glamorous. It's behind the scenes, but that actually separates by a wide margin the men from the boys.
It's the stuff that lets me sleep at night, because I don't see a world in which robots can do that.
Yes, absolutely. That's very, very true. Now, where can people find you? Where can they connect with you? I know a lot of people will want to learn more about what you're doing.
Yeah. So quick plug. If anyone wants to do a free brainstorm session one-on-one with me, you can just go to funnysalesvideos.com, scroll down to the bottom of the page. Right underneath the free download that I talked about earlier, there's a little form that says, right under that, there's a free 30-minute brainstorm session that you can book. If you just want to follow us, LinkedIn is a good place. Instagram at Funny Sales Videos.
Okay. Well, I'm going to put all of that in the show notes. It'll also be over on our podcast website at seatpodcast.com. So people will have ample opportunities to be able to, at their leisure, dive in and learn a bit more. And like I said, I've learned a tremendous amount. So I want to thank you for being on a seat at the table, Joseph.
You're so welcome, Jane. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you for tuning in to A Seat at the Table. If you enjoyed this episode or learned something from it, I'd love to hear about it. Your feedback powers this show. If you'd like to support the show, please hit the subscribe button so you never miss an episode. Also, share episodes you found valuable on LinkedIn or other social media and call out your biggest insight or takeaway from the program. And don't forget to tag me, Jane Singer. I love seeing which episodes you liked best. And if you have time, please leave a review on any of the major podcast channels. Also, don't forget to check out our website, seatpodcast.com. That's SEAT podcast.com. You'll find all kinds of bonus content there, including free ebooks, discounts on apps and other products, as well as a preview of upcoming podcast episodes. You can also send a message with any thoughts, feedback, or suggestions there, and yes, I will read them. Thank you for joining me today and supporting the show. I'm Jane Singer, and I'll see you in our next episode of A Seat at the Table.